Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of SimplyPodLogical, a simply neological podcast. Guess who's back?
You can't just add, musical notes.
I had a flashback. Remember in school, sometimes the intercom would come on and it would go like, boo, 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 boo.
No.
Ben Mazzawita, come to the principal's office right now.
How many times were you called to the principal's office? Is that a core memory for you?
A couple times.
Interesting. Okay.
Let's not get into that. Today we're doing the Trolley Problem show.
The show. Okay.
Cristine has wanted to do this episode, I think, since we started the podcast.
And Ben has
I've
not wanted to do it since we started the podcast.
So it's a series of hypothetical scenarios where you get to decide whether a train runs over people or not, or you get to choose some circumstances around which that happens. It's an old, you know why I don't like it, I think?
Why? Because there's no real solution?
To me, it reminds me of, undergrad philosophy courses where people talk about, well, if we only can know things through perceiving them, then we can't really know anything
at all.
What is a pistol? Yeah, you know what I mean? So...
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I just have...
discourse, ideology.
It's a little triggering, just going back to undergrad philosophy.
Okay, so you just have trauma associated with discussion about philosophical...
Any discussion.
Any discussion.
Any talk about anything.
From my understanding, the point of the trolley problem isn't to find the solution, because there isn't really one. The point is to evoke discussion about morality and ethics and how you see things.
Yeah, and I just don't like talking about that.
You just don't. You just have no morality. You're just fuck this shit. Morality. Just kill them all.
I want people to realize what a monster I am. No. Let's have fun with it. I think I could be totally wrong about this. My recollection, the first time I ever heard about this, so the classic scenario is you got the train coming, it's going to hit someone, you can choose to pull a lever.
And save them or not.
And it can divert from them and kill somebody else.
Yes.
Is I think the classic scenario of it. My recollection is that the original scenario didn't have anything to do with a train at all. I think it was put yourself in the position of you're a judge in a small town. Where the townspeople are rioting that they want some guy executed for a crime. But you, the judge, unlike all these other people, you know that he didn't do it, that he is innocent. Would you substitute in his place some other random person? Who
may also be innocent.
Is just, yeah. I guess so. Okay. I guess the point is in the scenario, you're substituting one innocent person for another.
That's a great question. Do you want to discuss things like that?
Okay, you want to get into it?
Today you're going to be philosopher Ben, which reminds me a lot of the Menchie at the top middle of your shirt, which is just a beautiful
Menchie
sweater.
Has never reminded me of a philosopher.
Look, that's philosopher Menchie. She's thinking.
Yeah, because her head's empty.
Ben, she's thinking about where's food.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's your emotion for today. These are my new hoodies, by the way. Yeah. At SimplyPodLogicalShop.com. We just launched Menchie and Zyler merch 2023, baby. And I'm representing Zyler.
King
Zyler. So I'll be the king mood. Top left corner is me today. But yeah, 9 different emotions, 2 different cats. 18.
What
what is that?
About?
18 different possibilities. I almost couldn't do math.
Just over the years, people sometimes bring up the fact they miss cat merch from Simply.
So we brought it back in a new way. And huge shout out to my mod Pillar, who helped design these.
Yeah.
It's the same emotes from the Discord, the Simply Discord and the Simply stream. So
I think sometimes we forget to, not everyone who likes you or watches you wants to buy nail polish.
We did that survey.
This exists too.
Hey, Podlogical audience, who we're literally speaking to right now. Remember we did this poll a year and a half ago? We polled you guys on the community page, I think, and asked you who paint your nails. And it was 40-something% of listeners at that time said they don't paint their nails.
What are they doing with their lives?
Do you wear crew necks? Is the next poll.
Do you wear clothes?
Do you wear clothes? I think it'll be higher than the inverse, than 55%. We'll see. Maybe I'll do that on the poll. Do you wear clothes?
All right. Do you want to do some trolley problems?
Yeah, let's do it.
You've been waiting for this a long time.
I've been waiting.
I hope you're excited.
I can't wait to debate you.
All right. Level 1.
Uh-oh.
A trolley is heading towards 5 people. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, killing only 1 person instead. What do you do?
Okay, so most people would say that the obvious answer is kill less people. However, the tricky part of this is that you are taking an action.
Yes.
Whereas if you don't pull the lever, it's just like, oh, this is just a train that was going to kill people anyway, so I didn't do anything. So it kind of falls on you about how you feel about taking an action to kill the 1 person instead of not taking an action, which would lead to the murder of 5.
Yes.
In a court, this would be interesting because maybe the prosecution would argue that you taking that action is like grounds for first-degree murder, at least second degree. But if you don't do an action, maybe it's only grounds for manslaughter or some form of recklessness.
The 5 people who you save if you pull the lever, maybe they become your butlers for the rest of your life.
Maybe you're
They're
their hero.
indebted to you. You're a hero.
I mean,
okay, you've already scratched it.
Yeah.
This is kind of why I didn't want to do this, because like the whole conversation about the original trolley problem is just this. Is it more, do you take the utilitarian view where it's like, yeah, I want to kill 1 person instead of 5 and that's just the best outcome for the most amount of people? Or is there just something ethically wrong about taking the action at all that results in the harm?
so I see that latter part as like a really selfish view of it. If you think like, oh, well, I don't want to be responsible for doing this, so I'd rather let 5 people die. I feel like that's the selfish, and yes, this is just my opinion. I'm not calling anyone, but that's how I see it. Whereas I'm deprioritizing the fact that I'm taking an action as like the most important part, because it's not. The most important part is like the fact that 5 people versus 1 are dying, and that's going to impact not just those people who are no longer alive, but all their families. So if you're prioritizing, well, I didn't want to pull the lever, I feel like that's pretty selfish.
Yeah, I guess you can think like, did those 5 people do something to end up on those tracks that the other 1 person didn't?
Yeah, we could invent a bunch of scenarios about how they're all like terrible people.
Well, that's
or
why
something.
this is such a...
But like, assuming that's not the case, assuming these are equal people, just wait, there's more scenarios where they're not equal. We'll get there. That's level 7.
I think most people, and I think I would generally take the utilitarian view that you pulled the lever.
Okay.
Can I flip this around a bit on you though? Because I think this is an interesting way of looking at, maybe not this example, but I think these ideas in general.
Ben, go on.
The only useful thing I learned in philosophy class, some elective. I like this idea of a way of thinking of a fair society. This is John Rawls. Is if you think of how you would want to construct a society and how people are divided and what's fair and what's just, but you don't know what position you will have in that society. Yeah. I think that's a useful thought experiment to thinking about how things would be fair.
Are you happy with the outcome of any of the classes in the society? Because
so
you don't know where you will be.
In a scenario like this, if let's say you're not the decider, you're just as likely to be the decider, one of the 5 people on that track, or the person on the other track.
What would you be okay with?
You don't know. Yeah. How would you think this is a fair scenario, or what do you think would be the fair thing to do if you don't know which one of these roles you would be?
If you're thinking about that through a selfish self-preservation lens, you would want to be... You would want the person to kill the 1 person, because statistically it's less likely for you to be that 1 person than to be one of the 5 who get to live.
So that's one way of arriving at an answer, I think.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good way to flip the script and always kind of consider life in general, actually. Good job. I'm glad that you're liking this.
I'm not liking
guys,
it.
He doesn't hate it.
He
doesn't hate it. Okay.
I hate it. So we're pulling the lever?
Ben. Yeah. Splat.
We saved... Oh, no. Oh, okay, we did it.
Oh, wait, it tells us statistics, so...
73% of people would also pull the lever, choosing to kill the 1 person instead of letting the 5 people be killed.
27% of people are selfish.
Or just have an intrinsic, innate sense of morality that they don't want to take an action to kill somebody.
Their recklessness still led to the death, which
reckless.
Is still...
They're doing nothing. How is that being reckless?
But you could still prosecute someone for not doing anything. Like, do you guys not understand, like... reckless.
In this scenario?
If you watch someone drown and you do nothing, you can be charged. So yes, it does matter.
I can't just
It's
watch
not
somebody
it's not
die.
first degree murder, but like, yeah,
Whoa.
you can be charged with recklessness and other forms of that. Maybe they don't rise to
If
manslaughter.
I'm on the beach and I see someone and they drown,
If you do absolutely nothing, you don't call for help, I'm not saying everyone's a lifeguard. That's not what I mean. But if you deliberately just sit there and make zero attempt and just watch it, yeah, you could be liable for that.
in
So-
theory, but in practice, like
I mean, yes, there
this
is
is a well-known
discretion.
This is like a bystander effect thing too, right? A lot of people
But
assume someone else will
Sure.
be responsible for.
Yeah, and I'm not saying every single situation where that's happened has risen to like someone getting charged, but there is some legal clauses and offenses that allow a judge to decide or the prosecution to go after someone in situations like that because maybe you just had ill intent of just like being like, okay, we saw it in Spot the Contradiction, the video game. We're okay, totally different story. But like, there's an example.
I
She's
thought
just
this
like,
was-
I just let her drown.
I thought this concept was pretty unusual in the law because, like, Good Samaritan laws tend to be pretty controversial. The last episode of Seinfeld was built around the idea that they didn't intervene in someone being mugged or something. I can't really remember.
Interesting.
But the whole idea was like they were on trial for not being good Samaritans by intervening in someone being victimized.
Yeah.
And then the whole trial was just about how they were bad people.
I
was
okay,
funny.
like I understand that too, and not everyone is expected to like go to great lengths to save someone either. But there are some avenues for prosecuting someone who was reckless or negligent or it led to that. And it's possible under certain specific cases of judicial discretion where they decide that's appropriate. I'm not saying that always happens. And I know someone's going to take this and be like, well, that's crazy if everyone... Well, like, that's not what I mean
It's
either.
very context dependent. If I'm
Yeah.
standing 5 feet away from someone and they're drowning and I just like stare, that's a weird.
But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do
And
I have an ethical obligation to save them though?
I think there is like a minimum threshold of some kind of action if you're not capable of saving someone due to physical abilities or otherwise, or just being in shock. That's totally normal and acceptable. I'm not saying everyone has to jump in and save someone, but like if you willingly just sit there and you had a phone and could have called someone and you just like watched instead, maybe you took a video of them drowning instead of calling 911.
Posted it
like,
on TikTok.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, no, that's terrible.
yeah.
I want to be clear. I don't. If anything, I feel the opposite. Sometimes I feel like too inclined to.
To save someone who's drowning.
I remember I was in a store once while someone was shoplifting,
What?
and
Okay, tell me the story. What? When? How long ago?
it took a lot for me not to intervene. You know what I mean? This wasn't actually that long ago.
What?
I saw someone stealing some stuff and just like trying to walk out the store, and the cashier looks like, "What the fuck do I do?" And I'm like, I really wanted to just. I don't know. I'm like,
This is
you know what I mean?
a
I
little
wanted
bit
to be like, "What
different.
the fuck are you doing?" You know?
I do think I understand that, but you could also cause more harm potentially by intervening, especially when it's like not your job, like you're not security at that store. But like you should definitely tell security if there is security, or you should tell the cashier.
But often those employees are told not to. They're told not to intervene either.
Because
right?
the difference is it's not worth it for a bag of chips or whatever they're stealing. But like if someone is drowning and dying, that's different. The threshold of intervention is different.
Yeah, but I don't have ethically. I don't look at it that way. I look at this as someone doing something obviously wrong and bad that's having a detrimental effect on other people, and I think they shouldn't do that. There's like a sense of this is just not right, and
But does it rise to
in
intervention?
a functional society, you would hope people would want to intervene to stop that from happening instead of having this blasé. Insurance will cover it, bro. Like I kind of hate that response.
Insurance, bruh.
Honestly, that's what a lot of people sort of. There's sort of rampant shoplifting happening
In the
these days.
States too, yeah. Have you seen was it Walmart? I can't remember, or Target, where they like now everything is just behind a fucking glass shelf.
Yeah, and this has bad like the people who work there. That's a terrible situation. Like it's one thing to just be like, oh, it's Walmart, they have money, but like, okay, Walmart's gonna close the store in the area and not have jobs for people if those stores are just constantly being looted.
Or it's hard for the people who work there to like have to deal
Or
with
being victimized,
shoplifting.
like they're getting
Yeah, I know.
assaulted in
Yeah.
this thing. I think just a lot of online people have a really terrible view of this because they never leave their house and just get
they don't
food.
go to a Walmart.
They get
They get DoorDash or whatever.
they're on the internet 8 hours a day and they get food delivered to their house.
Are you talking about me?
I'm definitely not
Sir.
talking about you. I'm talking about a few people.
He's
but
calling me out.
all right, do you want to go back to the train?
Okay, yeah. How did we end up here?
Oh no, a trolley is heading towards
Oh, no.
5 people.
Okay.
You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, killing 4 people instead.
Damn.
What do you do?
Yeah. 4 versus 5.
So if
Gotta
we
kill
just
4.
if we purely follow our logic for last
Yeah.
time, we still pull the lever, right?
Yeah.
But it's trying to tease out,
Yeah.
was it the proportionality that made you?
Right.
But we're pulling the lever, aren't
Yeah. We're taking the action.
we? We are.
One more life saved.
But here, the proportions have gone down a lot, right? Only 66 people did it now. 34 people didn't think the 1 extra life was worth it. Oh no, level 3, a trolley is heading towards 5 people. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, but then your life savings will be destroyed. What do you do?
Which is so subjective because what if there's like someone in college who's like, okay, fucking take my life savings. I have none. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't really have the same weight to some people.
A lot of people
Yeah.
have almost, yeah.
Yeah. It depends how much of a saver you've been, I guess.
So are we doing this for us or the average person?
No, we're playing as we would. But like obviously we don't kill people. Because like, obviously you don't kill people. Yeah.
Is there some financial calculation happening here?
Why do they get to split your life savings? That's what I want to know.
Is there
If you're giving up your life savings, do they get it?
Well, okay. Well, here's a certain amount of money could help lift many people out of immiseration or poverty or help in a philanthropic way, right? So how much money would this need to be worth saving over saving just one random person's life, for example?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
If the money can do more good than saving one person's life, there must be a point at which ethically or morally it's actually better to
Are you
preserve the
saying
money.
that the money is worth more than the person's life? Or you're saying
Because-
it's like the fee?
Okay, let's say I have an
What?
amount of money that could
Okay.
save 10 people's lives somehow.
Well,
Wouldn't
yeah, like healthcare treatments.
Yeah.
This exists.
this my life savings could pay for cancer treatments for 30 people.
Sure, yeah.
So I'd rather save my money than the 5 people. But then I just don't give the money to the cancer people.
Ben, that's not where I thought you were going with this.
But honestly, this is the only way I think
Yeah,
this
yeah.
becomes a little more interesting. Because otherwise,
Interesting.
obviously, you're not going to say, well, especially the social. No one's going to admit to wanting to save their money over human lives, I would think.
Yeah. Social desirability is at play. I wonder if people taking this like alone and no one sees the results.
Yeah.
I'd love to see the difference.
If a train,
They should include a social desirability scale before you enter this module.
how would they do that?
When you go to this website, you just
Oh,
do
the-
social desirability questions first,
Oh,
and
you
then
see
they
how
can
much
screen it
people
and
care
tell you
about
like
it.
actually you were probably lying. Okay, anyways.
This is one where people, I think, would insist on knowing how the 5 people ended up there. Because if you're really going to make such a sacrifice to basically ruin your own life financially.
No, but I don't think that's the point. The point is like you don't know them, they're random to you.
Yeah, but like, I would never be in this situation.
Well, yeah, you would never be in a situation where you pull a lever for 5 versus 4 people anyways, no matter the money.
Okay, so we're
We
pulling the, we're
sacrifice our
pulling the
life
we're pulling the
savings.
lever.
Goodbye, money.
That's what
splat.
we're saying
The
we're
money
gonna do.
went splat.
61% of people. It's gone down even more. 39% of people are like, fuck that. I want my money.
I'll keep my money, thanks.
Fill that bag up. Oh no. A trolley is heading towards 5 people. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, sacrificing yourself instead.
Oh, got him.
This is
Damn.
peak. What was the term you just used?
What?
Social desirability.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously the nice thing to say is you would sacrifice yourself for 5 people. But I think most
yeah.
people would not.
But when put in that position, it's way less likely.
And
for,
I'm
like,
sorry,
most
I know
people
it's
to
not
do
the
that.
point, but it's
Yeah.
impossible for me to divorce any sort of sense of personal responsibility here for having ended up in this position.
Like you're like, I would never end up on a train track in front of a trolley, so
Yeah.
I don't have to answer this
Although
question.
if you go to my original my thought experiment, right? If I don't know which of these 6 people I would be, you'd still choose the one over the 5, wouldn't
That's
you?
a perfect fucking point. Yeah. How many lives is what you prioritize because you don't know which one you are. I mean, I know this situation is dictating you're the single person and you can choose to save yourself. But
If people are being honest, they're saving themselves. Most of the time.
If this was a real scenario and this happened, as long as people knew, I think if you could interpret it this way, if people knew that you decided to be that sacrifice because you wanted to save people, you might feel better about making that decision before you die and then know nothing because you're dead.
I want to say rationally, I think a lot of people would have it in themselves to realize that the sacrifice is what makes sense.
Well, imagine surviving and then everyone being like, dude.
I just think
really?
the sense of self-preservation, I think, would take over
Yeah.
in most people's...
And you wouldn't think about that outcome. You would just be like, yeah, and I get it. Like, that's literally innate in all of us, is to try and survive. You wouldn't even really have that much time probably to think about the outcome of that decision and the lost lives of the other 5 people and all their families who will like probably come kill you after this.
I would prefer this as like in the second Batman movie,
What?
The Dark Knight Rises.
Uh-huh.
There's
Is that Robert Pattinson?
Nope.
Oh.
It's Christian Bale.
I like
the
his
Heath
Batman.
Ledger one. The Joker.
Yes.
Why are you looking like that?
Okay,
You
go
think I'm
on.
lying to you?
I don't know. I can't tell anymore.
It's the movie with Iron Man. It's the bad
Stop.
guy. in that one.
Shut up, man. It's the
Manchurian Candidate?
Yeah. Wait, no. The Mandalorian.
Who's the Mandalorian?
I don't know.
Then why did you say it?
I don't know.
Who is that?
The guy from The Last of Us. I know that, right?
So the Manchurian Candidate's a zombie?
No, that's different. I don't know why I said that. It just had the
Who's
same.
the Mandalorian?
The guy from The Last of Us.
Who's that? Robert Downey Jr.
Joel. No, that's Iron Man.
Oh.
He was in Oppenheimer too. Strauss.
Who was? Pedro Pascal?
No, Pedro Pascal is the Mandalorian, which I've never seen.
Who's Ahsoka, though?
The Soka? Isn't that a restaurant in Ottawa?
In Batman. In the Dark Knight Rises, you got a boat full of people. 2 boats full of people.
And a trolley. Who do you
No
kill?
trolley.
No.
They each have a detonator that would blow up the other
Oh.
boat.
Oh,
And
shit.
they're on a countdown saying, if neither boat presses the button, they're both going to blow up. So it's just really a question of, does boat A or boat B decide to press the button first to kill the other boat?
But are they both going to detonate anyways at the end of this experiment?
They don't, but I think they might be under the impression that will happen, or they're just concerned that the other boat will make the selfish decision to blow them up. I can't remember the exact scenario. But the
Yeah.
point is, one boat was full of like criminals, like convicts. And
I
the
don't
other
remember
was
this.
like non-criminalized people. You don't remember that? I thought it was an interesting
Vaguely.
idea.
Yeah, no,
And
I
it's
like
sort of,
it.
spoiler alert.
watch Batman
It's
now.
sort of like one of the people, one of the convicts or something, like takes the detonator and throws it out the window. He's like we're not going to be
doing
the people
this.
to make
and
that
then the other boat kills
which
them.
like proves there's more humanity in people than the Joker thinks.
Yeah.
Because the Joker thinks people are just a few steps away from anarchy.
Feels like it sometimes.
So we're letting 5 people die? Or are
No,
we
we're dying.
noble people? We're dying.
We're noble death.
If it was like you, Menchie, Zyler,
What? Don't say that
I
about
care
us.
about who the 5 people are maybe a little bit. You know?
Okay.
Okay, we're pulling the lever. Are people honest? 40% of people pull the lever. 60% are like, fuck that.
Fuck that. Fuck
I'm
those
going
5
home.
people. But what if those 5 people were your family? Got them.
Okay, level 5. A trolley is heading towards 5 people. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, but then the original copy of the Mona Lisa will be destroyed.
Fuck her up. Bye, Mona. I literally do not
I don't think
care.
that's a very good painting anyway.
Guys, that's it. The painting is not living. It doesn't breathe. It's not real. It's fake.
This reminds me of all like there's a lot of climate protests, like Stop Big Oil. What are they called? That go to art galleries and just like throw tomato soup on it.
Sure.
And like, I don't know. Usually it's behind glass, but I think sometimes they've ruined like original pieces of art. And I think they kind of live this problem a little bit. They're saying if our actions at all wake people up to the fact that we're destroying the planet, it's okay that some irreplaceable art gets damaged in the process.
Yeah, the art, it doesn't have feelings. It's like but
It
I feel
holds
that way too.
some
Like
value,
yeah, I
though.
understand that it holds value to some people. This particular piece of art does not hold that much value to me, but like I understand also that other people, see it as highly valuable, and I understand why groups will use pieces that hold value to certain people to try and demonstrate their argument. So like they're kind of like holding the art hostage. They know it's not actually like gonna get hurt in a meaningful way, like hurting a person would be, but it's to make a point.
I do find that strategy pretty self-defeating, though, right? Like, does anyone see that and go like, "Oh, now I'm gonna"?
It's still property
Now I'm gonna
destruction at the end of the
recycle
day.
more.
It's still someone's property. I mean, like whatever arguments you have about like who has the right to own it and it's a corporation and you hate them anyways, but like it's still property destruction. Like if someone did that to your house or something, like you'd be upset.
Yeah. Or like the blocking traffic thing is the one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Even if it's a protest I hugely agree with, if they're just fucking a million people's days up and making them an hour late to what they want to do, I just think it's just such a self-defeating thing. Those people aren't coming out of that experience being like, yeah, I really should think more about our reliance on fossil fuels. No, they're like, fuck these stupid hippies I was trying to get to work. Honestly, I feel like that is the visceral reaction people have
I
to
think
it.
it depends on. I do think it's more context dependent and not that simple.
I think there's probably a net harm to your cause by protesting in that way.
But sorry, not by protesting, but by blocking and
Well, that is their form of protest
Well,
or
not always.
activism.
No.
What do you mean?
There's lots of forms of protest that don't interrupt.
I'm
in a significant
specifically
negative way.
I'm making a claim about those types of
Okay,
protests
but just
that
so you're clear.
frustrate people. No, hey, I'm
Yeah.
no, I'm telling you, it's even when it's causes I agree with.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like it's an expression of really disempowered people that is a way. It's the same thing as the people who drove trucks and parked on Parliament Hill. Like it just fucked a bunch of people's day up
But that's
more
what
than
they
anything.
wanted.
Well,
get
some
it.
of them thought they were there to overthrow the government. Some of them wanted had been locked in their homes a long time and
Good
just wanted
times,
to party.
everybody. Good times in Ottawa.
But honestly, like that is like the sort of feckless cries of people who are just totally disenfranchised or feel disempowered. And in many cases just are. And they're
Yeah.
not of a class that really can affect politics in a meaningful way or industry. So it's just like, but I sort of see like those truckers and people sitting in traffic and stopping cars from getting to work because they're holding up signs about save the planet, kind of look at that the same way. And it's sad, right? I wish there was more ways of affecting social progress or campaigning for ideas you care about that would actually have a good outcome,
And
but I
it's-
just don't
it's
see that
hard.
as doing it.
It's hard to get involved in local politics and know where to begin and contribute in a meaningful way.
And also these are global problems that
Yeah.
aren't saved by like you showing up
Local
to City
politics.
Hall.
No, I get that too. I didn't mean it that way. But just like there's some city level, province or state, like province level things that like maybe if you were serious about getting involved, you could. But like you have to go through the right channels.
It's way harder
participate
to
in,
do
yeah.
something and commit yourself to something that meaning.
Yeah.
Or instead of like being the guy who handcuffs yourself to a door as some would be revolutionary, I guess.
Okay, so kill the Mona Lisa.
Kill the Mona Lisa.
Fuck her.
Pull that lever. We've pulled the lever
Like
every
everyone's
time.
gonna agree with this, right? What?
24% of people disagree.
Are they fucked? Like seriously, you would save a fucking picture of a lady? Okay, I know I'm just valuing. It's not a person.
What if it was like
That's
Polish
insane.
Mountain? You could either delete the Polish Mountain video from existence.
Obviously, like I can't
Okay,
understand
what
these
about
24 people.
what about a work of art you think
24%.
is invaluable? Is there
To
anything
who?
to you?
But like those 24% of people do not own the Mona Lisa. So
It's
like
not about owning it. It's
but
about these.
Okay.
There are things of cultural value that is more important than 5 random people's lives, potentially.
That's insane.
Is it?
Yes.
That there's any artifact of our culture that is more valuable than a human life.
You would literally murder 5 people, but if they end up being some people you know, part of your culture, people in your culture, you'd rather murder them than a piece of
What
art?
if it is like a foundational text of Western civilization? It's the Magna
Make
Carta.
a fucking photocopy. Like, take a fucking picture. I don't care. You can't, like, the people are dead and that's it. But like
People might forget that it says the king isn't above the law or something.
what do you mean they'll forget? We never wrote it down?
Well, we're going to destroy that where it was written down.
That's insane. I can't believe there's 24% of people that were like, totally do the murders.
Mona Lisa is a very unimpressive painting, by the way.
I don't know. I don't,
I will
I
not
don't know,
comment.
But I just like, I can't. No comment.
What if it was like Andy Warhol's tomato soup, Campbell's tomato
No.
soup series?
He can make another one.
What is a work of art you like? Does anything come to mind?
Sorry Night's pretty cool.
Yeah. When I first
I
met
still
you,
wouldn't murder.
didn't you have an umbrella or something?
Yeah, an umbrella.
Yeah. So you'd let 5 people survive and destroy that forever?
I wouldn't kill 5 people for Starry
umbrella?
Night. You're crazy.
You're crazy, man.
Insane.
Level 6 bribes. A trolley is heading towards a rich man.
Oh,
The rich man offers you $500,000 to pull the lever,
I like his hat.
which would divert the trolley and kill someone else.
Damn. Okay.
Is the other person offering you anything? Sounds like
No.
they're not.
No.
Sounds like they should be trying harder.
It's a broke boy versus a rich man. Broke boy won't give you any money to save him. Rich man will give you $500K. It's still one person versus one person, which is interesting.
Yes. I was trying to apply if I could be any of the 3 people in this scenario.
Which
If
yeah.
I'm the person pulling the lever, I'm probably a little more inclined to not want to do the action that kills somebody.
Exactly. Like you're changing the course.
If I'm the
Yeah.
rich man, I probably want the opportunity to bargain my way out of being killed. And if I'm the poor person, I'm like, there's no way
That
this
I have
rich
a chance
guy
here.
should be able to save his own life at the cost of mine.
Correct.
So I could be any of those 3 people. So what is the reasonable outcome here?
I think you shouldn't accept the bribe.
But this one's trickier though, as the person pulling the lever, I already don't want. Oh, you're right, because if I don't want to do the action, I would let it kill the guy.
Yeah. Either way, one person is dying. It's are you going to accept a bribe to to intervene with the plan of the trolley? And you get that blood money. Now, you're killing someone either way, whether directly or indirectly. So I see that as like pretty much the same. And maybe some people will argue this from a really nihilistic or selfish sense and be like, hey, either
One
way,
person's dying.
one body is dying, so why can't I have money? So I could see that argument too. And depending on your circumstance, you may very well be like, fuck this, I'll take the money. Either way, someone's going to die, but this could really help me.
Could he up the offer?
Who?
The rich,
The rich
guy?
man?
Because I don't know if
You would do it for $1 million? Shut up. Ben's like, come on, you have a
Hey, tick, tick.
30 seconds.
Time's ticking. Yeah, you up that offer.
You're terrible.
Yeah, obviously, the socially desirable answer is to not pull the lever.
The social.
I think a lot of people being honest with themselves are probably pulling that lever.
Yeah, because
And they would justify
yeah.
themselves one person's dying anyway.
Anyways, yeah, I know.
And again, I feel like this is way too abstract, right? I want to know. Even if I'm taking a utilitarian view of this, I would want to consider who those two people are, what they've contributed to society.
Interesting.
Can I assume just from one being a wealthy person that they contribute more to society? Probably not.
What are the mitigating factors?
If that person's rich just because they're a spoiled brat who's been a bad person all their lives and like made all their money by ripping off poor people, definitely letting that rich guy die.
This is interesting because it kind of
But
sounds like you want to do judicial discretion in like sentencing, and you
Well,
want to.
but I'm being forced into this position,
but like
right?
their ability to rehabilitate. What are their prospects? What are they going to do while they
Yeah.
serve time? I mean, not here, but just
Yeah,
like what else can they do and contribute?
And that's kind
to?
of fair. If you're going to
Yeah.
force me to choose between killing two people, I'd kind of like to know a little bit about them.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
totally agree. I'd want to learn, but
Okay, so let's just say do nothing absent of other information.
yeah.
How many people?
Goodbye, Top Hat Man.
This one was even
Very split.
49% of
50-50
people,
basically.
51% of people want that money. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
That's a very I would have expected more people want the money.
But again, this is definitely a social desirability.
Yeah.
One.
Huh.
So you can't believe any of it. Are we going to keep going? How long are we
Yeah.
going to do this?
Yeah, we have more.
Well, this
only
might
been
go
half
on
an hour.
forever. I don't know. Okay.
It's the trolley that never ends.
Okay. A trolley is heading towards 5 lobsters.
You forgot the oh no.
Oh no!
Oh no!
You can add the oh no's.
Thank you.
You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, running over a cat instead.
No! Benji, no.
What do you do?
Murder all the lobsters.
This is starting to go in an uncomfortable direction.
What?
You're making me compare like the
Types of species.
innate value of different species of animals.
I mean, people in North America eat lobsters on a regular basis and have decided generally, with the exception of vegans, that like that's fine in terms of their
what's
their knowledge
more
and value
fucked up?
in the food chain.
You know what's weird that is normalized? Boiling seafood
Them
alive?
Yeah, that's weird. And I've eaten lobster.
That's fucking crazy.
I don't really like lobster.
Because if you think there's even a tiny probability that those
that's
animals
fucking insane.
are experiencing pain,
Yeah, why would you do that?
the idea of like, oh, it's a little bit more tender if you boil them alive.
The person who thought of that is a psycho. Like that's crazy. Like I'm gonna boil it alive.
Yeah, it's distressing. Like
Yeah.
that actually bothers me.
Yeah.
There's a famous David Foster Wallace
Consider the lobster.
essay, Consider the Lobster.
Mm-hmm.
That's precisely about this.
I do not consider these lobsters though. I consider the cat.
just randomly think about lobsters sometimes. I don't like seafood, by the way.
I know.
Yeah, I know you know. And I've said this before, but it sort of falls apart as you think about it. Like,
You rank the
would you,
minds,
if you're going to eat animals, if you're not quite ready to commit to a not eating animals lifestyle, I think you owe it to yourself or the animals to think about the ethics of that. And part of me thinks it's worth thinking about like how much those animals really are conscious or aware of their own lived experience.
I thought you were gonna say contribute to society, like evaluate them again.
No, it's more just about like what are you robbing them of by killing them to eat
Their
them?
life. What do you mean?
Yeah, but like, is it just some?
What kind of
Is
life?
it just some stupid fucking fish that doesn't think about anything?
Is it a stupid fish?
How
said
stupid
Ben.
is the animal?
How
Is kind
stupid
of what
is
it comes
yeah.
down to. And it's not just stupidity, right? It's like, are they even like aware of their place in the world?
Mm-hmm.
Are they kind of self-aware, conscious of their own existence, or are they essentially just like robotically proceeding through life with just the impulse to survive?
Yeah, they
'Cause
don't
I
have
think
as complex brain thoughts.
You'll
or
see some
activity, yeah.
animals that are clearly showing traits that we associate with people, like bonds between them. You can recognize in some animals like a capacity for understanding that I think should make you uncomfortable about killing them for food or sport. Whereas I think some animals, like you look at a chicken looks like, if you stare at a chicken, it looks so confused, like it might just drop dead right in front of you, right? So maybe you feel not as bad about eating a chicken as, a dolphin or a chimpanzee or like even cows,
I think just to be clear, what you're saying is species of animals dependent. This argument does not apply to humans who have different levels of
Well,
cognition.
and
or
this is
awareness.
actually, this
Yeah.
comes up in philosophical discourse about the ethics of eating animals, because people who have advanced this
Yeah,
argument,
but I hate this argument, and then people try and apply.
well, they're
it
confronted
to,
with like,
yeah.
do you say
No.
the life of someone who is mentally
And then the answer is no. That's not what I mean. I'm talking exclusively about animal species.
yeah, but it's an interesting retort to this
Mm-hmm.
way of looking at the issue, right? Because yeah, some people definitely think there's just innate value to life in general, and you putting yourself in a position of judging which life is more or less valuable is problematic.
Yes. Like we're doing on this trolley
But
game.
here, like, if I think lobsters are just like
Fish of the sea.
much less consciously aware of their own existence,
Yeah,
but I have more empathy for a cat, at least.
because we have cats.
Yeah, there's definitely a bias here.
I think, okay, this is selfish, obviously.
I'm doing nothing. I did nothing.
Yeah, I think cats contribute more to our human society. They bring so much joy and love and affection and comfort, emotional support to humans, whereas lobsters are replaceable with each other, whereas your pet cat isn't. Like, you have your pet cat for years and years and years. A lobster you eat and don't know the difference
It's a
between
pretty
the one who died or not.
selfish way of life. Like,
Yeah,
they
that's what I
only
just
have-
said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They're more transient in our human life. We don't really have pet lobsters and give them names and care about them in the same way. Some people eat them, other people fish them for sport, and some of them just chill at the bottom of the lake.
In some cultures, they eat cats.
Yes, I did say earlier in North America, so I was being specific about in North America.
So I'm not trying to
Yeah.
pin you down. I'm just saying that is also kind of a subjective,
Yep.
context-specific
Yes.
thing.
But in my evaluation of
Yes.
this trolley problem, that's how I'm perceiving it.
Because
is that
you're
cats
saying
play a
because
more
these
critical
animals
role.
are pets for a lot of people, you
Yeah.
see them as having more value to humans.
And also just that, like, one single cat is continuous. It's a constant in someone's life for like a decade. Whereas a lobster, you don't know if they just swap them out for
For
another
me,
lobster.
it's not about their relationship or potential relationship to humans. It's about their own innate capacity for
Interesting.
an experience, their own consciousness. Yes.
What is the experience of a lobster?
But you know what I mean? Like, we think about our future and our past and what we want and our relationships and what we want to do. Not all animals, I think,
Do that.
Do that.
Right. Well, like, you can train cats and dogs, so they do think about their future, like a food or fetching
yeah,
or whatever.
that's an
so
interesting.
they can.
That is an interesting example. Is that like a purely Pavlovian?
Mm-hmm.
I know this input means this outcome, because that is at least a basic understanding of the future. But even little Menchie empty head here isn't really thinking about her place in the
Yes,
world
she is.
and
Her place is-
relationship to us in a
Her
meaningful
place
way.
is
I don't
right
think.
here on this table, and she loves us. She always looks for comfort in us. She doesn't like other people because she knows us. So she is thinking about the people around her and what is safe.
if you say so.
When she says, "Kill the lobsters, save me."
All right, level 8. Oh no!
Oh no!
A trolley is heading towards 5 people who are sleeping and won't feel pain.
Uh-oh, all those other people we murdered just felt pain.
You, yeah. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track running over someone who is wide awake instead.
I'm wide awake.
I actually don't think this changes the example much for me at all.
Yeah, I don't think so
I'd
either.
assumed in the other scenarios that they were going to experience the awful situation of having a train run over them, which might not be like the worst way to go.
Excuse
You
me?
think that'd be pretty quick? A train
I would
hurtling
assume-
towards you?
Yeah, I would assume it wouldn't be like a long, slow death, but I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I haven't researched. I still think, yeah, you killed the one person.
Yeah.
But maybe this is trying to get at people who, like, maybe are on their deathbed in the hospital and could go peacefully with drugs. And, like, that's not the worst experience as far as, like, deaths go. But I still don't think 5 versus 1. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, the experience of the scenario doesn't change much for me. If it was like one person's old and sick and the other 5 people are young and healthy,
Maybe that'll come up.
I would assume that's a scenario. Here's level 9, though. A trolley is heading towards 5 people who tied themselves to the track.
Perfect for you, because you want to know about the
I
person.
want to know how they ended up there. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track. killing one person who accidentally tripped onto the track instead.
Wow. I like this.
So I'm letting
Letting
me,
fate happen. Yeah.
I care about the
Yeah.
personal responsibility of how you end up. And not just personal responsibility, because you could say the person's responsible for tripping on the track to some degree. But people who very
no.
actively, voluntarily, you have some responsibility for ending up on train tracks, even if it was an accident.
Yeah, but there is a gap here in terms of the intent.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I'm just saying it's not like no personal responsibility versus personal
Well,
responsibility.
maybe they had to walk across the train tracks to get to work, but like it's not their fault that they tripped and ended up on
I
the
should
tracks.
be careful. Be less
Okay,
clumsy.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. 5 people wanted to tie themselves to the track. You have a reasonable expectation that a train will come and kill you. So especially because it's like, okay,
I mean, sounds like
that's what you wanted.
Sounds like maybe they want it to happen. Who am
Yeah.
I to deprive you of that?
Yeah,
So we're doing nothing.
we're doing nothing.
We're doing nothing. Who disagreed? Who agreed? 79% of people agree with you.
21% still say kill the accidental person.
That is. Do you think
so
that's?
weird.
It's just never going to split.
I think they are doing the utilitarianism approach, but not examining the context at all. And that's what I think is really important in like critical decision making and judicial discretion. It's like,
yeah?
yes, there are like laws and guidelines you can follow, and that's how I think about a lot of these with utilitarianism, but you can never do that devoid of context. And so when context is given to you, like this example, that those people wanted to be on the track and secure themselves with a reasonable understanding that a trolley would come and kill them, and the other person did not. I think that context weighs heavily on the decision here.
When it comes to judicial discretion, I agree with you that sometimes you need like a human actor, and you can't just rely on like actuarial tools
Or mins or maxes.
exclusively. But at the same time, human intervention isn't always likely to
No, it's not
result in a
perfect
better
either.
outcome.
So what are you saying? You want AI to decide?
I'm just saying sometimes I think people presume that like, oh, the actuarial tools result in unjust outcomes and you need human judgment in some of these scenarios.
I think
and I
you
think
need
sometimes
both.
people ignore that human judgment and actually. There's a famous criminological study of a parole board, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And they noticed that as people are approaching lunch breaks,
Yeah.
they're increasingly likely to not grant
to
parole.
deny parole,
To deny
yeah.
parole. Presumably just because they're getting a little crankier and hungrier and just want to
Mm-hmm.
end the proceedings. Like in that case, I would rather, here's a checklist and a score you received.
But they do those too.
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
saying it's just, I feel like it's at least pointing out some evidence that like the human bias isn't always towards a better outcome.
It's not.
Mixed methods is probably
yeah,
the
yeah.
way to go.
It's definitely not, and you should never rely on only that. But that's why you have actuarial tools and questionnaires and guidelines, and then the human looks at it and interprets it and applies context that cannot be quantified.
Yeah, but I think even if we're agreeing that mixed methods is the way to go, I'd rather more weight be put on the more objective standard, and that human intervention maybe just being for
Like a last
scenarios
check.
that are outliers to the objective model.
But that's almost every scenario. There's just
Is
always
it?
circumstances and mitigating factors and considerations that you just need someone. But the problem is if you just have one person doing the evaluation and no checking of that, there's no, whether it's an adversarial process where you have two parties arguing to convince, or you have a panel of judges like in the inquisitorial system, or maybe on the parole board there is a panel of people. It's usually not just one. I mean, this probably varies by jurisdiction, but like you have someone checking and doing, maybe it's inter-rater reliability where you're comparing your assessment to someone else's so that you get like the average decision of a few human people.
Yeah. I guess I just don't like the idea of more like activist judges in any direction, right? I don't think a judge should be able to deviate or swing far away from what a more.
But that's what mins and maxes are for.
Yeah, but a lot of people argue against mins and maxes and would rather.
And when they present a situation that very well makes sense to not use those mins and maxes, like I'm usually inclined to agree. But yeah. But like generally it's fine, I think, to have guidelines. But in some circumstances, yeah, they really shouldn't.
I also
apply.
just think like judges as unelected are not liable. What's the word? not beholden to their electors or constituents.
Well, it's different in the States.
I know
'cause
it's different.
They are elected there, right?
Yeah, but they still have less, they're not coming up on their, well, at some levels,
They
judges are voted in.
campaign to like stay judges.
I mean,
it's
that-
very
that-
different
that is all
in
weird.
Canada. Yeah.
But I'm
it's
saying like
different.
judges should not be making the law. And that's what I'm sort of pushing back on the idea of judges having such a role to the point where they're basically rewriting the rules or sentencing guidelines. I feel like that should be dictated by people elected by a democratic process, not by judges appointed to a court. Yeah.
All right. Okay, where? What's the next one? Oh no! A trolley is
Maybe
heading...
this is the last one.
Why?
We've gone
I
on a long
love them.
time. There's so many.
Isn't it so good though?
If you want to do a
Okay,
whole
we'll
other
see.
episode about this, we could do it.
This is level 10. Here, I'll read it.
You read it.
Mercy. Oh no, a trolley is heading towards 5 people. The lever just speeds up the trolley, which might make it less painful. What do you do? The lever just speeds it up, which will make the death less painful.
Yeah.
But you're still killing 1 versus 5 if you do nothing. So I don't care about the less painful. I'm killing 1 instead of 5.
I don't think that's the decision.
It's not? Oh, did I misread it?
The lever just speeds up. To me, this implies the one person's irrelevant.
Oh.
I think your only
Sorry,
decision
you're
is
right,
whether
you're right.
you make the death less painful by taking an action, or you just stand
Oh, okay,
back and
got it,
let
got it.
what's going to happen.
So the trolley will never divert to the one person.
I think this is representative of euthanasia.
Yeah. Do you want to help assist
Yeah.
when they're going to die anyways? However, if I'm this person and this is a real situation, I'm investigated for murder the second I fucking touch that. Because they're like, what did you do? You sped it up. You wanted it to
Yeah.
happen. And then how are you going to convince them that like they were going to die anyways? You're going to sound crazy and then you're going to get prosecuted for murder.
That's why the theoretical part of just in principle making their experience less painful that you can't intervene in, 9 out of 10 people are gonna
like,
just say
yeah.
yes. But in reality, if you ever found yourself in front of some literal train tracks, you're not doing
not touching
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what's a little less? I want to say all these scenarios are kind of like absurd, and you'd never find yourself in this position. But like, if you're someone programming self-driving cars or something, I guess you do have to think about things like this in a more
So there's another version of
meaningful way.
this game that I played
Oh,
on
no.
stream where it is you decide who the car kills.
Oh, okay.
And-
I
yeah.
remember that. But yeah, for a few of the examples that we've sort of laughed off as kind of, or I've sort of dismissed as kind of absurd. Yeah, if you're programming a self-driving car,
Yep.
you'll literally need to program whether it decides to sacrifice you or run over 5 people. Like that is literally going to have to be programmed into these systems, right?
Yeah,
That's kind of scary.
it is.
Shouldn't that be prescribed by not a company selling you a car, but
Yeah,
some
this is something
third-party
I'm
regulatory
aware
agency?
I'm aware there's lots of conversation around this. I don't have like the knowledge of, but yeah, I wonder, is it going to be regulated, those types of decisions? Or is there oversight? Are there oversight bodies at least comparing the way that each car company manufacturers make those decisions and code it? Are they different between cars? I don't know. Like it's super interesting.
Can't trust car companies.
No, but who can you trust? Us. Send us your code. We'll make the right call.
But this is like, I know we're living in a time where people are incredibly distrustful of institutions, but I would still trust governmental institutions more than a company that's just interested in making itself money.
If there's transparency, yes, I can
Transparency
agree.
in what?
If the government, like in Canada, we have a lot of like transparency where they have to publish a whole bunch of shit. We have things called like ATIP where it's like access to information. And
Canadian government's notorious for like talking about how transparent they are, and then people have a
Okay.
lot of trouble
All right.
with ATIP requests. But
yeah, I know. I used to do them at work.
oh yeah, let's not talk about that.
Okay. But okay, yeah, I know. Canadians, hold on for a second. I'm talking to
Sorry,
everyone
I
else.
interrupted you, but
Like let's
there
just
is
say
some public accountability. Governmental institutions
if they
have that
like
private companies don't.
published and it was decisions made by a number of government institutions with insight from stakeholders and the public, and sometimes that's how consultations work, and to arrive at the conclusion that the majority of people could agree on, like if you send everyone this survey,
Yeah.
What would Canadians choose? And then programmed accordingly. Like, then I could see that because that had true oversight. But I don't know how you're going to get that within like a single manufacturer.
Well, I'd just rather it be a
decisions.
public,
Yeah,
visible policy as opposed
exactly.
to
It needs to be a transparent policy.
Tesla behind the scenes programming, protect our customer over the lives of people who didn't buy our
Is
car.
it protect our customer or is it protect our vehicle?
I imagine a lot of companies it would come down to. Actually, yeah, good point. Protect our vehicle.
Yeah.
But well, it's like what's the famous? Was it the Pinto? There's some famous example of a car where the car company knew it had a flaw that would result like 1 in 100,000 times, like killing the driver or something. What was it? Was it the
Can't
Pinto?
remember.
And in this case, yeah, it's even like their own customer, I guess. But I think they decided the fix would be more expensive than even just like having to settle or deal with the ramifications of wrongful
They
death.
pulled that lever.
I mean, yeah, they did something awful. I might be getting. I don't want to. I don't want to.
I can't remember exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, allegedly. I just want to protect
Allegedly.
in case it wasn't the Ford Pinto.
Yeah.
It's a really
Yeah,
famous
yeah.
example.
Okay.
Though. People could look up and figure out what I'm talking about. So yeah, I would much
So-
rather it be a government standard regulation than private companies making these decisions.
Yep.
For sure.
So in this scenario, we would choose to speed it up to make it less painful, but also acknowledge what
Only
does
in
that
theory,
mean?
not in practice.
In theory, yeah, exactly. Let's see who agreed.
Splat.
71% of people agree with us.
29% of people are like,
Fuck
I
that.
want nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
Just like I want nothing to do with any more scenarios.
Just one more.
No, that was 10. It was perfect.
Please.
We could do it. Do you want to do this another time?
Yeah. Should we do another one, guys?
On
Comment down
camera
below.
or off camera? How many of these are there?
This is like 100.
Oh my god.
Actually, I
we
don't
can make
know.
10 episodes
I don't
out
know
of this.
because I never got. Isn't it perfect? It's the new Am I the Asshole just dropped. It's called Trolley Problems with Cristine and Ben.
Part 1 through 10.
Okay, comment down below if you want us to do a part 2 of this because there's kind of like an infinite number of scenarios, but they get wilder and more complicated. I'm just saying, this was easy.
Okay. This wasn't a terrible idea.
I'm so happy. You
But
said
only
that.
because we had some, I think, okay
What do you
conversation
mean?
around. If we were just like, yes, no,
Well, yeah,
kill.
obviously
no.
we're going to talk about it in between. How could we not? You thought we were going to do this and just be like, vote, next, vote. I'm a robot. Press X to
We
remain a
did that
machine.
fucking psychopathy quiz once. It was like the worst experience of my life.
That's because you were just worried that you'd be outed. So he was just like, I'm just going to say the lowest common denominator.
That was definitely it, yeah.
I had fun. We should do
I'm
this
glad
again.
you had fun.
Okay, so the next time we'll do Am I the Asshole, and then we'll go back to Trolley Problems.
That's just what this podcast is
That's
now.
it. I like this type of discussion because although there's lots of interesting things that come from Am I the Asshole, sometimes it's harder with those because they are personal experiences for some people. So it's a little tough sometimes to like pull that out and just talk from an
Oh, do you
omniscient
feel like
perspective.
because this is like more abstract,
This
you're
is
more
very
willing
abstract, but each problem presented an interesting new question, which I like.
to be okay.
And it does evoke a little bit more mature. Not that I'm going to say like Am I the Asshole is always immature. That's not true. I mean, some of them are, but it's kind of like some of those examples in Am I the Asshole are very like, really? Like, are you really that fucking unreasonable?
You didn't
Do
feel
know
that
what I mean?
way about rich guy tied to the train tracks offering you money?
No, I think that's an interesting discussion because a
Yeah.
lot of people would, like we were saying, might say no.
But I mean,
will
it's
take
kind of
that.
like, really?
Yeah.
You're on the train tracks, Mr. Monopoly Man?
Okay,
really?
sure.
Really? You ended
Well,
up on the train tracks?
All those people just ended up on the train tracks. So
Really?
really,
You're just going to give me $500,000 to untie you from the train tracks?
am I the asshole for just falling on the train tracks and then Ben decided to pull the lever and kill me?
Pizza lever. All right. Thank you for listening.
Thanks so much, guys. I hope you have a wonderful Taco Tuesday, and you can get our new Menchie and Zyler merch at SimplyPodLogicalShop.com. They're not limited edition. They're just
Low-key.
chilling.
They're here.
And they are made to order, so they make the color and size you want, so it'll basically never sell out. But it does take longer to do because they're,
Yeah,
made to order
yeah.
for that reason, so it's not as fast as, I don't know, Amazon or whatever. But yeah, I wanted to give you guys all the colors and the options and all the sizes in stock. If it's out of stock, that's because the vendor of this particular blank just doesn't have that size, but it's not out of stock because of, like, you know, me or whatever. It's not limited edition.
Yes.
Anyways, hope you guys have a wonderful Taco Tuesday. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see y'all later. Bye.